The marble floors gleamed under the fluorescent lights as Elena, the night janitor, pushed her mop across the empty lobby of Wolf Industries. To her, the silence after hours wasn't lonely, it was peaceful. She often hummed softly while cleaning, dreaming about the day she might open a small art studio for kids who couldn't afford lessons. But one night, her voice carried farther than she realized. Damien Wolf, the billionaire CEO himself, had returned late to grab his forgotten phone. He paused by the glass wall, watching the middle-aged woman mop with quiet purpose. "What keeps you smiling at this hour?" he asked, half amused. Startled, Elena blushed. "Just thinking about my dream. One day, I'll open a studio for children. Art gives them hope." Damien chuckled, a deep, dismissive laugh that echoed across the hall. "A janitor with a dream of running a studio? That's ambitious." Elena didn't flinch. "Maybe. But dreams don't check pay slips." He smirked and walked away, the sound of his expensive shoes fading into the distance. Yet something in her calm, dignified tone lingered with him, a quiet defiance that didn't match her faded uniform. That night, Damien couldn't sleep. For reasons he couldn't explain, he kept thinking about the janitor who dared to dream beyond her world, and how, for the first time in years, someone had spoken to him without fear. Little did he know, that conversation would soon change both their lives forever. A week later, Damien sat in his glass-walled office, staring at the skyline he once ruled. The markets had turned against him. A massive investment failure had shaken Wolf Industries to its core. Reporters were calling it the downfall of the untouchable CEO. For the first time in his life, Damien felt powerless. His board demanded answers, his investors demanded blood. That same night, long after everyone left, he stayed behind, the same way Elena always did. When she saw him still there, shoulders slumped, Elena hesitated before speaking. "Rough day, Mr. Wolf?" He almost laughed again but couldn't. "Rough month," he admitted. "Everything I built is collapsing." Elena placed her mop aside. "Maybe it's not collapsing," she said softly. "Maybe it's just rebuilding in a different way." Her words struck him. She wasn't educated in business, yet she spoke like someone who'd weathered far greater storms. "Why aren't you bitter, Elena?" he asked. "You clean floors for people who don't even notice you." She smiled gently. "Because every job has worth. I clean so others can work in peace. That's enough for now." For the first time, Damien saw her differently, not as a janitor, but as someone rich in peace, something he had never owned. Days later, he found himself stopping by to talk with her again. Their brief chats became longer. She told him about losing her husband, raising her son alone, and how art helped her heal. Her resilience stirred something inside him, something he thought he'd lost long ago, compassion. And as the company's crisis deepened, Damien realized that the woman he once laughed at might be the very person who could teach him how to rebuild, not his empire, but himself. Weeks passed, and Wolf Industries continued to crumble. Executives resigned, projects froze, and Damien's public image was shredded by the media. Yet, amidst the chaos, he found unexpected calm in the janitor's company. One night, Elena brought him a cup of coffee, cheap, bitter, but strangely comforting. "You can't rebuild anything if you don't start with people," she said, setting the cup beside his untouched papers. Damien looked at her, tired but curious. "People?" She nodded. "You built a company around profits, not purpose. Maybe that's why it fell so easily." Her words sank deep. For years, he'd measured success in millions, not in meaning. But now, the silence of his empty office echoed louder than applause ever had. He started making small changes, listening to employees, cutting unnecessary luxury perks, and redirecting funds to staff welfare. Slowly, morale lifted. And in the middle of it all, Elena's quiet wisdom became his compass. One evening, Damien found her sketching on scrap paper during her break, a mural of children painting under a tree. "That's your dream, isn't it?" he asked. She smiled shyly. "Still is." He studied the drawing, then said something that surprised even himself. "Let's make it happen." She blinked. What do you mean? I can't fix the whole world, Damien said, but I can help you build yours. Elena laughed softly, shaking her head. You don't owe me anything, Mr. Wolf. He smiled faintly. Maybe not. But maybe I owe someone a chance to dream again. That night, for the first time in months, Damien didn't feel like a failure. He felt human, and strangely, that felt like success. 6 months later, a small building stood at the corner of Maple and 3rd, once an abandoned warehouse, now transformed into a bright, colorful space filled with laughter and paint-stained hands. The sign above the door read, The Hope Studio, founded by Elena Rivera, supported by Wolf Foundation. Inside, children from all walks of life painted, sketched, and dreamed. Elena moved from table to table, guiding tiny hands with gentle patience. At the back of the room, Damien watched quietly, wearing jeans instead of a tailored suit. This place is incredible, he said as she joined him. Elena smiled. You helped make it real. He shook his head. No, Elena. You did. I just stopped long enough to listen. Word about the studio spread fast. Local news, social media, even national coverage. People were moved by the story of a billionaire who once laughed at a janitor's dream, only to help her rebuild it. Donations poured in, enough to open 2 more branches within a year. But for Damien, the greatest reward wasn't the headlines. It was the quiet peace he felt standing among those kids, watching them create with hearts full of hope. One afternoon, Elena handed him a small canvas. It was a painting of a man standing before a shattered glass tower, with sunlight breaking through. It's you, she said softly. Rebuilding from the inside out. He looked at the painting for a long moment. You were right, Elena. Dreams don't check pay slips, but they do change lives. And there, surrounded by color, laughter, and second chances, the billionaire who once laughed at a janitor finally understood what true wealth really meant.